That's what she said. And here's some pictures
Venom
from the comic.
Omnibus, Volume 1. We're going to go through it. Planet Hulk Omnibus. We're going to go through it. Epic Collection Silver Surfer Thanos Quest. We're going to go through it. Uncanny X-Men Quarantine. We're going to go through it. We're not only going to go through it, but we are going to... There's got to be a "that's what she said" joke in there. But I don't think there is. But we're going to talk about statues as well that may or may not relate to this content. So hold on to something big. Mr. X, Xtreme Channel, Xtreads, Xtreme Reads. This is comic book related material I read in the last month. We're going to go through it all. We're going to tell you my thoughts on it. We're going to do a synopsis. We're going to show some artwork. We're going to talk about statues in the Xtreme collection that are directly or indirectly related to this material. Let you know if these are good reads. Let you know how it relates to some of the statues. Before we start, a disclaimer. I'm pretty weak. I've been sick for quite a long time. This is the most energy I've had. I do not have enough strength to carry the statues over to the table, so we're going to show shots of those and superimpose them on here. But if there are statues that are in the Xtreme collection, we'll do actual photos. If there's statues that are in purchase order, we'll do prototypes and renders like we normally do. So let's get started because, as you can see, I read a lot. We have a lot to cover. I want to start with this Uncanny X-Men Quarantine Edition. This is the first Uncanny X-Men paperback that I read. Not paperback, but tradeback that I read. And it was an interesting one. I bought it because it was damaged and it had a cool quarantine Wolverine bleeding on the cover. I didn't enjoy this. I would not recommend it. Essentially, the storyline is somebody manufactured a virus that just attacks mutants. And not only does it attack mutants, but it eliminates their power. And they're on Alcatraz Island and they get it quarantined. So that whole story's going on. They have to find out, of course, it's a big company that did it to make profit. And they learn to, synthesize a new mutant gene that they could give to regular people. And ironically, so there's like 20 Wolverines. Everyone got Wolverine's powers in the end scene. But then also, Emma Frost is, very smitten by Sebastian Shaw. So there's another side story going on where she's captured him and she's trying not to kill him, even though she wants to. But it wasn't a good read. I just didn't enjoy it much. If you're a huge X-Men fan, you may disagree with me. And there weren't any statues really directly related to this bastard. So that is the Uncanny X-Men. Very, very short review, but it's a very short book. I did like some of the imagery, though. And let's just show a few photos right here of some of the characters. I think they did a great job, not only some of the heroes, but the villains. I did like a lot of the imagery. It was a lot less cartoonish in my mind. More of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Realistic take on some of them, while it's still a comic and cartoon. Next one I want to cover is, if you recall last month, I talked about the Venomnibus. So Venom Omnibus Volume 1, that's because I only got through half of it. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm only going to go through something once I've read the entire thing. And that is the case. I got the rest of it read. You guys, if you want to know what I thought of the first half of the book, go ahead and check that out. If you're newer to comic book reading like I am, an omnibus is basically just a bunch of the comics collected in a semi-sequential order and different storylines. So let's start off. There's two storylines they start off on. One was Mace, which is a character I don't know anything about. It's not statue related. I didn't enjoy that too much. And it was the same followed up by the one shortly after that. It was called, what the hell was it called? Night Watch. Same thing, a character I'm not very familiar with. I didn't dig the stories too much. They were kind of a boring read. However, when I got to Knights of Vengeance, that was pretty cool. Knights of Vengeance was essentially this law enforcement officer who ended up being Vengeance, who I've never heard of, but he's just like Ghost Rider. He has Ghost Rider's powers. He has the bike, but his name is Vengeance, and he can transform back and forth just like Ghost Rider. First, him and Venom fight, like Venom always fights his adversaries. Then they team up because there's these stalkers out there that have been combined with some alien technological DNA, and they're kind of like predators. They like to go hunt. So Venom and Vengeance are their sport, and of course they fight back and forth. It's about 4 issues. Some pretty cool imagery we're going to look at towards the end. But I did enjoy it. It was a good read. It was very entertaining. And I also want to say the next story was a classic Spider-Man Venom story. I didn't enjoy this one as much. It was the Arachnus Project. It's funny, I don't really enjoy Spider-Man and Venom fighting in the comics, and this was no exception. Had some decent artwork, but the next one was actually the Scarlet Spider, which is Spider-Man's clone fighting Venom. I dug this. It had a good take on it, and it involved some of the other symbiotes, which I thought was really cool because now we're starting to get some statue-related content. I did find out my Lethal Protector Venom is what I call it. You guys, if you've watched this before, you know what that is. Here's a picture of him. Should be coming in January, so that'll be really cool. But another piece that I have on purchase order, I don't think it's gone up yet, but I for sure will get it. She was not only featured in this, but the next episode, which was Venom's separation anxiety, is Scream. So in this statue right here, this is one of the offspring of Venom or Carnage. I can't remember which one. But in separation anxiety, he's fighting the symbiotes. He's fighting a whole bunch of people. They take away his suit. So his suit is kind of operating independently, and so is he. And he has powers, and his suit has powers. And all these extra symbiotes are trying not to go mad. They're trying to balance their human and symbiote side and try and find that happy medium, and they go from crazy to sane, kind of like Venom. But it's a really cool story. I enjoyed it. I like the different imagery, all that. Very similar to some of the first parts of the Omnibus. I'm trying to remember what was next. And then the last one was Carnage Unleashed. So Carnage was in a mental hospital, and he got out through going through a video game, which sounds kind of crazy. So it's a little far-fetched. Of course, a symbiote in the first place is pretty far-fetched. But got me really excited about this custom Venom or custom Carnage that I have coming in. Here's a picture right here. They just showed the print the other day, but this is going to replace my XM Studios Carnage. Really, really cool piece. Really exciting. And I just love the fight back and forth between them. So those were some of the stories. Let's check out some of the artwork. Here. Then here's a picture of Vengeance, the Ghost Rider type character. And then the Predators is what I call them. I think they're called the Stalkers. I can't remember. Here he is with the Scarlet Spider. Kind of a decent story, but... Then here's the separation anxiety, and I'm going to show a few different shots here. You can see how he's separated from his suit, how the other symbiotes were involved. They kept going back and forth, crazy, not crazy. And then Carnage Unleashed. Some cool covers. Other neat aspects to this. So overall, do I recommend the Venom Omnibus? Venom's one of my top 5 favorite characters, and I actually don't recommend this. Many times it was a difficult read, and what I mean by difficult read is you had to concentrate. It wasn't, I want to keep coming back to it, I want to keep coming back to it. And the last one we're going to talk about today was completely the opposite of that. It was a very easy read. Next one, though, I just got done with this, is Planet Hulk. And if you guys caught it recently, I did a review of Sideshow's Gladiator Hulk. I was very disappointed in this. It wasn't good. Some of the things I didn't like about it is there were so many different characters and things were all over the place. But here's a quick synopsis. At the beginning, the Hulk goes mad and crazy, and so essentially the Avengers and some of the other people... Namor, Doctor Strange, Reed Richards, they decide, let's get Hulk off the planet, so they trick him into going into space. Nick Fury's also involved to eliminate a potential threat, but it was actually a S.H.I.E.L.D. threat. And he goes up there, and then the ship kind of traps him inside and supposedly is supposed to take him to a planet where there's no intelligent life. And he crash lands on a different planet that essentially has a dictator who is a ruler. There's elements of Thor Ragnarok on this, the movie. He goes to fight in an arena. Some of the names are the same. And one cool thing as far as statue related, which you guys saw in my review if you watched that, is this is where Silver Savage is introduced, and I have him on order. Very cool piece. He fights Hulk in the arena, and Hulk actually ends up freeing him so he can go back to the stars. And the Gladiator Hulk, though, I don't have the picture of him up because I'm traveling the next few weeks and I couldn't get him, but here's the sideshow picture. So he's very similar to this. The creature on the bottom is one of the creature he defeats. It's only a small part of the comic, so I'm surprised they made it part of the statue. But then he helps with the Civil War, and he keeps getting more and more angry, and then eventually he finds love with the enemy. He marries her. He destroys the horrible emperor, and they make him king, and then everybody dies. It is boring. It is boring, but I think it's a must read. With that being said, here's some of the imagery in it. And the imagery was just okay. This isn't the Hulk I'm a fan of. Some of these. Some really weird creatures. Some look badass. There was, Korg, the rock monster. There was some bug monsters that, I understood it fine, but it wasn't that entertaining to me. They called the enemies the Pinkies. Some cool stuff going on. I also didn't like how it just jumped from problem to problem. It didn't really seem to expand on stuff a lot. And at the end of it, this is kind of the prequel to World War Hulk, which I will not read next month, but in 2 months I think I'm going to read. So very, very interesting read. I'm trying to think if there are any other statue-related characters in it, but I think the biggest ones were Gladiator Hulk from Sideshow Collectibles and that custom Silver Savage. Now this one I'll probably spend most of my time on is the Epic Collection Silver Surfer Thanos Quest. I loved this. I read it in a day and a half, mostly because I was sick in Mexico on the turlet. But so I'm never going to sell this, but if you bought it from me, I was reading this while I had diarrhea. Aren't you glad to know that? And I frickin' loved this. And this told the story of Silver Surfer. It told the story of Thanos acquiring the Infinity Stones or gems. So it's completely different than the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it was very entertaining nonetheless. And let's jump right in. So Silver Surfer, who is my favorite character, I have a number of Silver Surfer statues. You guys know this one right here is my favorite. It's my favorite piece. It is just awesome. And this really encompassed Silver Surfer in this book. He went through a number of trials and tribulations, whether it was on Earth or on other planets, where he's fighting a lot of these unknown enemies. And he wins in the end every time because he's Silver Surfer with cosmic powers. So that's how the book starts out. And also at the beginning of the book, he has killed Thanos. And I remember that from when I was young, but I got to go back and check it out. Well, apparently Thanos didn't die. Or he did die, and Lady Death, or Mistress Death, who he's in love with, brought him back to life. And this is really exciting to me because XM Studios just teased or showed their prototype of their new XM Thanos and Mistress Death, which I am getting 100%. I already purchased. It goes perfect with this book, in my opinion. And he's in love with her, and he also, when he went through his death experience, he learned about the Infinity Gems. Their power, where they come from. So he sets out on a quest to collect them all. And some of them tie in a little bit with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it's completely different. And Thanos' big power, not only his cosmic powers, but he's incredibly intelligent. So he beats all the enemies to collect all the stones and then becomes the most powerful being on the planet. And when he does that, he is actually able to trap Silver Surfer and Drax, formerly Drax the Destroyer, who also died and came back. And I do have a Drax the Destroyer statue, but this is more... so this is kind of a tie-in before he becomes Drax, the stupid, really powerful guy that is displayed in the comics here. I'm probably jumping all over. But he traps them in the Soul Dimension where they meet Adam Warlock, which is pretty cool. And Adam Warlock vows that I need to get out and help you guys destroy Thanos as well. And another and here's a custom Adam Warlock statue. I'm not a huge fan of the character, but I think this ties to the comic really well. Pretty neat. And I'm not a huge fan of that part of it, but one thing I like too is Silver Surfer was really discovering where he came from and coming to terms with the fact that he murdered so many people while he was the Herald of Galactus. He actually visits Galactus cordially. Reminds me of some of the cool Galactus statues I have, like the legendary bust right here. And the other custom, or one of the many custom Silver Surfer pieces I have right below that, where he's coming out on Galactus' hand of the portal. And he's coming to terms with everything he has to do to kind of rectify all that. And that's part of his struggle with Thanos as he's fighting Thanos. And Thanos has the Infinity Gauntlet now and is all powerful and all that good stuff. And another Thanos tie-in, this is one I have coming, I think, in March or April. He actually rides around in his throne. So I'm really excited about this piece right here because it is straight from this comic. Super excited. It's going to be huge. That's what she said. And here's some pictures from the comic with it. And another one, not necessarily statue related, but I would love if they would come out with a Mephisto statue, especially a Mephisto on throne. I've seen a few teas, but he's a big one in this book too. Working kind of with Thanos and against him, trying to get the Infinity Gauntlet from him, but still they're partners. Just very interesting. Good stuff. And I know I'm jumping all over the place, part of it because I'm really sick, but there's so much on here. There's so much. I mean, he gets a job in one of these comics, or he attempts to get a job. And I like how there's a lot of times he's without his power for legitimate reasons, and he still has to make do and figure out how to accomplish stuff. But very cool book. Lots of cool stuff going on. Another Silver Surfer statue that I have coming in is this museum pose. It's actually being shipped to the painter because it only came as a kit. But I love this. This was one of the best reads I had in a while. I highly recommend it. Epic Collection, Silver Surfer, Thanos Quest. I want to get the next one as well. I have a whole bunch I need to read now. I'm tearing into Daredevil tomorrow, actually. Shadowlands, the Omni on that. So, but that's what's going on. Those are how stuff tied in. I apologize, guys. This wasn't well thought out because I am really sick right now. I feel like I'm going to throw up, actually. So, thanks for tuning in. Check out my Xtreads from last month right here. And until then, don't go fuck yourself.